Back at CES 2022, a company fresh off a really successful Kickstarter showed off a brand new product that was so revolutionary and amazing and astounding that it won award after award after award. People were legitimately excited for the launch of this product. I was there at CES and I got to go hands-on and demo it, and it just floored me. So I gave it awards too. And then shortly after, the company died. It went bankrupt and it never even delivered to its Kickstarter backers. It disappeared entirely. This is the Noveto Soundbeamer. That's right, I managed to get a hold of a working unit and I've been using it for the past few months just to see if it lives up to the hype and my memories. Noveto took CES by storm because they launched such an interesting and amazing product based on technology that does currently exist today. But I should clarify one thing. What I saw at CES was the Noveto N1, a sort of quasi 1.5 version of the product. They dressed up the outside to look a lot better, but on the inside the technology was more or less the same as this Soundbeamer I have here. This is what they showed for their Kickstarter entry. So what's so amazing about this product that everyone was giving it awards? Well, the Noveto Soundbeamer is a directional audio soundbar. What that means is when you're standing in front of it, you can hear the audio crystal clear, almost as if you were wearing a set of headphones. But as soon as you step off to the side, the sound levels start dropping dramatically. Within a few feet at CES, it seemed to disappear entirely. I couldn't hear what was being beamed out of the soundbar anymore. Now, to be clear, I think some of that was the loudness of CES, but it was still pretty astounding to stand in front of a soundbar and hear music that just seemed crystal clear, and then step away, and then for it just to disappear entirely. Later in this video, I'm going to try and show you how that works and sounds by putting a couple of microphones at my ear levels and standing in front of the Soundbeamer and then stepping off to the side. You'll probably get best hearing results for that if you wear headphones for that part of the video, so I'll let you know when that starts. But there are a few things we need to talk about. How this works for one, and how well this particular unit works for another. At the top of the Soundbeamer, you'll find a series of cameras that are specifically there to measure your ears and figure out where they're at in real time as you move around. The whole point here is then to use ultrasonic waves that are beamed directly at each of your ears. Ultrasonic is at a much higher pitch than regular sound is, at a point that we can't hear it. But it has two advantages. One, it can be beamed in an ultra narrow form factor, and two, it can actually travel a lot further. And through a complicated bit of science, those varying waves that have been beamed will actually clash in such a way that they'll subtract and add to each other to create waves at a much lower frequency, becoming noise you can hear. The reason you don't see it in regular use is because of a few disadvantages. The first being the cameras in this case, of course, but the second being that ultrasonic waves converting to hearing range waves has a big problem. They only work best at the higher end of the hearing range. What that means is you won't hear much, if any, and really realistically no bass at all. This makes this particular product not that great for music. What you get sounds 3D. You can tell the difference between what's on your left and what's on your right, and that makes it great for games, but you won't hear cello or a bass guitar or the pulsing rhythm thrum of a techno song. So this really is a great product for, say, a little bit of gaming, if you're in a first-person shooter, for instance, but better even still for conference calls. If you are a frequent Zoom and Teams and so on person, then you can listen to a call without wearing headphones and not worrying so much about it bothering people far off around you. The next cubicle over might hear some of your call, but it will be pretty quiet comparatively so. Still not as good as actual headphones, but in a way more comfortable, and in a way less. There are two problems that I have with this unit right now. The first is that it doesn't quite work right. Don't get me wrong. When you sit down in front of this and you turn on audio and it beams right at your ear, it's kind of astounding. It really does feel like suddenly you're listening through a low-end pair of headphones, but still a pair of headphones without the discomfort of the band across your head and the cups over your ear. You can hear 3D binaural audio, which means if I play something like footsteps walking from one side of the speakers to the other, that is how you hear it, as though someone were in the room walking around you. It's kind of amazing until it's not, because this particular unit has a high squeal every time it plays audio. I don't know what the problem is, to be honest. This did come from Israel, and it was designed for Israel electricity, which runs at a different frequency hertz than US electricity. The plug itself is supposed to be able to handle US electricity. All I had to do is switch out the proper prongs and plug it right in, and everything turns on. But I still have a feeling that something about this needed to be set up for US electricity to work better. At least that's my theory. It could be something else. It could be that the product itself doesn't work right. Because remember, the way this works is that ultrasonic waves hit my ears and then they bounce and clatter together to form new lower pitched waves. It could be that what's being beamed out isn't the correct ultrasonic waves to avoid that high pitched squealing. And that's where we should get into something that happened at CES. When I saw this at CES, I never experienced the high pitched squealing that I have with this, but the units were frequently down. They were frequently not available to demo. I stopped by a few times because I liked this thing so much. I wanted to get to know it more and listen to it more. And more than once when I stopped by, there were none available for use because they were having technical difficulties all convention long. But I've also run into another issue the more that I've used this, and I've been forcing myself to listen past the squeal and just get a feel for how well this works. And it's a comfort issue, weirdly enough. Have you ever used ANC headphones? They're the kind that block out the sound coming from around you. The way those work are kind of on a similar-ish principle to this, that we're using one form of sound to make another happen. In the case of ANC, they listen to the sound around you and they try to beam the opposite wave to cancel them out. Hence cancellation. For a lot of people, those grow uncomfortable after a while. It feels like an extra pressure on the ears, and that comes from all the extra sound waves being beamed at your ears. Something pretty similar happens with these after a while. If you listen to them for too long, you feel a kind of growing pressure. And my best guess is it's the combination of ultrasonic waves plus regular waves being created by the clattering of that. It isn't so uncomfortable I ever felt the need to stop listening, but it is enough that I noticed it, which becomes a little bit of a detractor for it, because the whole point is you don't need headphones anymore. And so now you have something that is kind of uncomfortable, which is one of the benefits to not wearing headphones, and they don't sound as good as headphones. Here, let's take a quick listen.
Electricity, I feel fire, feel all emotion, I feel fire, between you and me. I feel pressure, feel all emotion, I feel pressure. All of my time, leave me behind, coming over me. Don't be wasted.
But if this thing is that amazing that I felt the need to go find one somehow, and they even managed to solve whatever squealing issue this might be for the CES units, why, oh why, are these not in homes everywhere right now? Why are there so many Kickstarter backers completely angry because they never got theirs? Well, they ran into hardware issues that they just couldn't solve for. Remember, at the top of this unit is a set of cameras. Now in the CES model, it was slightly different placed and there was a bigger ring thing going on just for looks, I think, mostly, so you know it was working. But nonetheless, at the heart of the system was a bunch of cameras designed to measure your ears, kind of like the Kinect for the old Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Unfortunately for Noveto, they were using off-the-shelf cameras that they could buy from a company, which comes with advantages like easy-to-use firmware and knowing that it works and so forth. That company discontinued the cameras, went out of business, I'm not quite sure, but the cameras were no longer available. At that point, Noveto decided instead of buying a new set of cameras from a new company with its own firmware, Noveto would design its own. But designing this kind of camera system isn't easy. Apple didn't do their camera bar that measures the face on their own. They bought out the company that used to make the Kinect for Xbox. And for that matter, therefore, that Microsoft didn't make their own camera system for the Kinect. They were also using another company that had the knowledge and smarts. Either buy from a company or buy that company is the easiest and most straightforward way to go. Developing your own takes a lot of cash and time and iteration, and that's just not something Noveto had a lot of. They had Kickstarter money, but that Kickstarter money was supposed to pay for the full system to send to you on the basis that it was basically already complete. It wasn't go back to the drawing board and redesign money, at least not in theory. And so in the process of trying to figure out the camera system, they ran into more and more problems, and then they ran out of money and shut down. So this remains a CES curiosity. Something so grand and so beautiful and so bold that everyone flocked to it and couldn't wait for it to release. Even though, realistically, it's an imperfect product on paper. It'll never produce great music. It was supposed to be really expensive, if I recall correctly, somewhere around $600 or $700. And at the end of the day, it really served sort of a niche need. Do you want to listen to Zoom calls without bothering your neighbors? Do you find headphones uncomfortable? Do you mind not having any bass? Have we got the expensive product for you? But in front of it, when you listen to it, when it worked right, it was magic. And I still want the Noveto N1 that has all this solved. And if anyone out there knows how I can get a hold of one, I'll follow up and talk to you about it too, because it was just that amazing. And that is CES in a nutshell. The Consumer Electronics Show always has its fair share of big companies doing bold things. Lenovo launched this really awesome dual screen tablet laptop there, and last year we saw amazing looking transparent TVs that are way too expensive for anyone to ever buy. But beyond that, you can usually find much smaller companies doing something incredibly interesting. But this is also the story of CES in that there's always something that catches your eye that you wish would become reality and never does. And that's kind of sad and is kind of invigorating because it's like going to a magical wonderland of tech coming from the future to a home near you if the winds blow just right. And to that end, I will be at the Consumer Electronics Show next week, and I'm going to try to live stream from it some, but I can't guarantee that because, well, the network there really sucks. But we're going to give it a shot. So if you would please hit that subscribe button and follow this channel, you'll get updates as fast as I can from what's new and awesome and maybe never coming to your home, or maybe just maybe will change the way we look at technology all next week. Until then, bye.